Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to look at how long to taper for a marathon. Now there are typical rules, really 2 to 3 weeks is all we really need to be doing. A lot of people I talk to initially start looking at 3 weeks, and I did exactly the same thing. The first couple of marathons I ran, I took a 3 week taper down because that was what I'd always heard and what I'd read and actually what I'd been told by a lot of runners as well. Now, the problem with that sometimes can be that it leaves you feeling quite sluggish, but it has to be a personal choice. If you're someone who's used to running and tapering for 3 weeks before a marathon, then that can be absolutely fine. You know your own mindset, you know that you do feel well prepared, hopefully and well recovered. Equally, 2 weeks can work really well for lots of people as well. I know if I took a 3 week taper now, I would feel completely out of the loop. I would feel unfit. I would feel like I'd lost some of that and I'd missed that kind of peak that I could have otherwise had. Now, whether that's the case or not is a different thing, but we have to factor in our own mentality and our own thoughts on this as well. Doesn't mean we can't change those thoughts. So through research, through speaking to other people who've tried different things, again, we can always learn and try different things out. Depends also how training has gone. So for instance, if your training has gone fantastically well, you are at the peak of your fitness, you're way ahead of the pace you need to be able to run, and you're running really comfortably for your marathon time, and you're not interested in pushing that time forward, then great, take a 3 week taper, take it lovely and easy, keep the injury risk really low, enjoy some more social running for a couple of weeks more, take that 3 weeks and really kind of cruise into your race. If you've maybe left things a little bit late, if you aren't quite at the peak, then the extra week of training can be incredibly useful. Again, from a mentality point of view, meaning you do feel really on top of it as you come into that final couple of weeks and into your race day. Also, it might give you just one more week to get that fitness, which isn't going to make an enormous difference, but could be enough. Especially if you're looking something like a Boston qualifying time, if you're looking for different like championship qualifying times, good for age times for certain of the races, then that one extra week can be just what you need. Now, there are loads of things to think about with this as well. So, within your individual context, you might want to consider how your training has gone. If it has gone really well, but you're feeling a few aches and pains, probably best to take a 3 week taper. If your training's gone really well, then you still feel good, then actually, why not go for another week? You could add another week in and say bring that time target down by another minute, 2 minutes potentially. It depends on where you're at. Now, the other parts of this to think about are really the kind of structure of what those weeks go and how you're going to taper down. There are different methods you can taper with. Now, the type of taper you want to do is going to also be a factor in deciding whether you take 2 or 3 weeks. I've gone with this on a separate video and we'll do some other in-depth work on this in future. However, really the type of taper does have a role in this, and again, the mentality, as I've mentioned before. The other part of this that we really want to think about as well is the kind of build down is very, very individual. So you don't necessarily have to go with just a blank black and white 2 weeks or 3 weeks. What I often get my runners to do, especially those around about the 4 hour mark or slightly underneath, is we end up doing kind of a 2.5 week. So during the main part of their week, say Monday to Thursday, they will do their normal training runs and they will just taper the long run, maybe down from 20 miles down to 16. The following week is 10 to 12 miles, something around about that area, and then it's race week after that. So you don't have to go just 2 weeks or just three. You can kind of find a mid ground where you keep some good speed work in the middle of the weeks, and then weekend, a little bit easier, still keep some intensity in there, but do that longer run of say 15, 16 miles, maybe 14. There's loads of ways you can do it depending on your top end longest run and also your weekly volume and how you want to drop that down. Again, factoring the type of taper you want to do. Either way, the taper length of 2 to 3 weeks is a good marker. Anything much more than that is going to be too long, and anything less than that is probably going to be underselling yourself, not preparing you, not recovering for race day. If you are doing races in the final weeks, this is the other factor within it. So again, if you did something like a 10-mile race 3 to 4 weeks beforehand, you'd want to factor that in, maybe taking a drop down week into your race, build back up for a week, and then drop it back in for 2, maybe 3 week taper from there. Similarly, if you're doing a half marathon or 20-mile race, say 3 weeks out, you want to do that third week, you might want to build it just up a little bit to that longer run of the weekend again and then drop it down. But you could also go, right, build up to that 20 miler, and essentially that is your big, massive long run. Even if you take a proper 2 week taper after that, you would obviously recover and you want to start that recovery process because of that big effort in the third week from the race. So the those factors, racing you want to do, how training has gone, how you're feeling, your own mentality, and also what your schedule is looking like as well over those final 2 3 weeks, which can be a bit manic if you're traveling away, getting things packed, making sure you're ahead of work and all those kind of family things as well can be quite a tricky time. So making sure you're factoring as many things into account to that decision rather than just going with what you've always done, because what we've always done doesn't mean it's always the best way to do.